I'm Stephanie Watson, and I'm going to be reading to you today from my new book, Elvis and Olive, Super Detectives, which just came out in July. And I'm reading you a sample of the first chapter because my dog, Nino, well, basically he begged me to. He begged me all afternoon if I would read to him. So, okay, I will. Can you sit? And I'll read you. But first, I should tell you a little bit about this book. In the last book, which is just called Elvis and Olive, the girls, Natalie and Annie, they are spies, and their code names are Elvis and Olive. And in this book, they decide they're going to try something a little different. They're going to be detectives. So that's where this book starts out. And the other thing you need to know before I read is that Natalie, in addition to becoming a detective, thank you, is going to run for student council secretary. So, okay, ready? Let's get situated. When you read a book, it's nice to have a comfy chair. Oh, good. See? Lying down. Okay, so this is from the first chapter. Tall oaks, elms, and maples formed a leafy roof over Natalie's street, making the whole block feel like one big house. After school, Natalie sat on her front steps with her 9-year-old best friend who lived across the street. Annie Beckett was her real name, but Natalie called her Elvis for short, and because it was her code name. Natalie's code name was Olive. Don't think it's just pencils, Elvis, said Natalie. School store has pens that write in 4 colors, and mini staplers. What, you don't want to hear the rest? All right, we'll see you later. He's overwhelmed by the story, apparently. We'll keep reading. So Natalie says, don't think it's just pencils, Elvis, said Natalie. The school store has pens that write in 4 colors, and mini staplers shaped like dogs and cats, and so many fruity erasers you can smell them halfway down the hall. No way, Annie said, slapping her hands to her cheeks dramatically. Her fingers were dirt-stained from digging a grave for the squirrel tail she'd found in the street. There's glitter glue, Natalie gushed, and folders in every color of the rainbow. She broke a granola bar in 2 and handed the bigger half, wrapped in a napkin, to Annie. Annie tossed the napkin aside and grabbed the bar with her bare, filthy hands. She didn't care about germs. She tapped crumbs off the end as if it were a cigar, then took a bite. At Jefferson, we don't have a school store, Annie said. She went to a public school across town from Natalie's private academy. We have to buy our pencils elsewhere. The school store sells all kinds of pencils, Natalie continued. Glitter, neon, cartoon, camouflage, jumbo, scented, smiley face, even pencils that change color in the heat of your hand. And there's a hole puncher that punches heart-shaped holes. Heart-shaped holes? Annie faked a faint. It's not possible. Natalie rolled her eyes. You know, do I make fun of the things you like? Do I tease you when you tell me the plot of every single episode of the Arthur Milligan mysteries? Not yet, said Annie. Elvis, student council is important to me. Running the school store has been my #1 dream for 2 years. Annie studied Natalie's face carefully. Then I will help you achieve that dream, Olive. What's the first step? To prove that I'd make a good public role model, I have to do a helping hands project. What's that? Annie pulled 2 clementine oranges from her coat pocket and handed the larger one to Natalie. Well, the project can be anything, Natalie said, as long as it helps the neighborhood in some way. I can pick up trash or collect cans for a food shelf or open a detective agency, Annie interrupted. Natalie stopped peeling her clementine. What does a detective agency have to do with helping our neighbors? We'll solve mysteries for people. I can't think of anything more helpful. Annie bit into a fat clementine slice, sending a spray of juice onto the concrete. And I've wanted to become a detective for a while now. Elvis, you know how much trouble we got into last summer by spying on people, Natalie said. We promised we wouldn't do it anymore. Annie shook her head. Detectives are way different from spies. Spies peek through curtains in secret. Detectives solve cases out in the open for people who want to be helped. It still sounded like trouble to Natalie. I'd feel more comfortable collecting soup cans, she said. Principal Tangleton is going to evaluate everybody's project, and she's strict. What if she doesn't like the detective idea? Annie stuffed the rest of the clementine into her cheek like a squirrel. Let's make a deal. We'll have a detective agency for a week. If it doesn't work out, I'll pull the soup can wagon while you knock on doors. Either way, you'll have a really great Helping Hands project, okay? Natalie pushed the neon orange peels into a neat pile on the stoop. Okay. Yay, Annie cried. Let's get our detective costumes. So that's the start of my new book, Elvis and Olive, Super Detectives. And from there, they go on to help their neighbors. They solve some small mysteries, and they end up finding a really big mystery too, a big mystery to work on. So I hope you check it out.